Well, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's always a pleasure to address the House of Commons on behalf of the people of Chilliwack Hope. And we are here today discussing Bill C-56, the Affordable Housing and Affordable Groceries Act, which is something that the government whipped together after their London caucus meeting. And once again, we see the government, they're great at the announcement part of things. They're great at the glitzy announcements and the flashy photo ops, but they really, really are terrible at delivering results for Canadians. This is no more evident in any file than in the housing file, where they have had billions of dollars and promises for 8 years about how they were going to revolutionize housing in this country, and what they have delivered is failure. Time and time again, when the rubber meets the road, they have not delivered the housing units that they have promised. They have not delivered the funding that they have promised, and it's Canadians who have paid the price. You know, on the first day of that London caucus meeting, where the panicked Liberals said, we have to do something, what we're doing is not working, we're getting crushed out there at the doors, the Prime Minister went out and he actually tried to re-announce for maybe the third time the same funding that he had announced in previous budgets years past. He tried to say, look at us, we're working with the people, we're working with London, we're announcing this new money. And for once, the media didn't buy it. They said, actually, what you're announcing is something you've announced before and are actually a year behind on delivering on. This is old money. This is not a new promise of new housing for Canadians. So that didn't work. So the next day, what did they do? They came out with an 8-year-old promise from the 2015 Liberal Red Book, which has, again, they have failed to deliver on the promises that they made to Canadians at that time. They promised this GST rebate for apartments in 2015. It's 2023. And on the back of a napkin, a half an hour before the Leader of the Opposition was releasing a comprehensive housing plan that included a GST rebate for rental housing, they whipped out this promise that they had buried and forgotten about for 8 full years. That's not leadership, Madam Speaker. That's admitting failure, which is what they have done again and again on this file. Same thing with the grocery store photo op. This is the same government that gave millions and millions and millions of dollars to Galen Weston and Loblaws to subsidize freezers and fridges for that. You know, it's a good thing they gave it. I heard that Loblaws barely scraped by last year. They barely made a profit, and it's a good thing that the federal Liberals reached deep into taxpayers' pockets and took out $12 million for fridges and freezers to gift to Loblaws. And then they have the audacity to say, but we're bringing them here to Ottawa. We're going to tell them what's what. We're going to have a photo op, and things will be different. Trust us. Nothing happened at that event except a photo op for the industry minister, except a talking point for the Liberals. When we asked them, as a result of this meeting, what will happen to the outrageous price of a head of lettuce, of a bag of carrots, of a bag of potatoes, of a turkey? What will happen to that? Nothing. They have no idea. This is a complete and total photo op from a government of complete and total failure. Every single time there's a problem, they come up with a comms plan that doesn't deliver anything for Canadians. And Canadians aren't holding their breath in my riding that a photo op meeting with some CEOs is going to make any difference to their grocery bills. But they know what would make a difference. What would make a difference to their grocery bills is axing the Liberal carbon tax. Because we know that when farmers pay a tax, they pass that on. When truckers have to pay a tax to pick it up from the farmer, they pass that on. When manufacturers, food processors have to pay the carbon tax, they pass that on, and the grocery stores pass it on, but the Liberals say it has no impact on the price of groceries. We know that it does. We know that taxes have an upward effect on grocery prices, but the government refuses to look at that and instead has gimmicks and photo ops that don't make a difference to the bottom line of Canadians. We had the parliamentary secretary to the government House Leader speak just a few moments ago, and he said, it's going well. Things are going well for Canada. It reminds me of the new Justice Minister, who, when he was appointed to his position, said that rising crime wave that you're feeling in your communities, it's all in your head. It's not actually happening, but the data shows that it is happening, that the crime rate is soaring across the country. Same with the price of groceries. When the parliamentary secretary to the House Leader says that it's all in your head, that things are going well, he obviously hasn't spent that much time talking to his constituents. Because people are suffering. People need help. There are people in my riding who are living in RVs full-time, who are living in their cars, who have taken over highway rest areas, who've become permanent encampments for people to live, people living in tents. It's because the price of rent has doubled under this Liberal government in 8 years. The price of mortgages has doubled in 8 years under this Prime Minister. The cost of a down payment has doubled under this Prime Minister. And what do we see? We see a recycled promise from 8 years ago, just in advance of the Leader of the Opposition's announcement, and they want us to applaud them for their housing plan. It's not working, Madam Speaker, and I wish they would adopt the rest of the Leader of the Opposition's private member's bill, the Building Homes Not Bureaucracy Act, because we need to incentivize municipalities to actually get homes built, not talk about it, not plan for 15 years from now, but to get keys indoors and people in homes. That is what the Leader of the Opposition's plan will do, by incentivizing municipalities to get more homes built and punishing municipalities who stand in the way. We know that the cost of red tape and gatekeeping in Vancouver, for instance, now adds over $1 million to the price of a home. We know now that it's been revealed that even upper middle class Canadians can no longer qualify for the average home in Canada. They can't qualify for a mortgage making $170,000 a year. That is the state of play in this country, and they want us to say that they're doing so well. I think one of the great tragedies, and having young people in my life, I think of my own family, where the stat is that 9 in 10 young people, 90% of young people, have given up on home ownership altogether. They don't believe that they will ever be able to afford a home. That wasn't the case before this Liberal government, and it won't be the case after this Liberal government is gone, Madam Speaker. It is time for real action on housing. It is time for the Leader of the Opposition's plan on housing, which takes real action, which has real steps and real metrics that will be realized to deliver actual results. The Liberal plan has failed. We saw refugees coming to this country with a promise of a better life, who've been living on the streets and using food banks, living under an overpass. We've seen students forced to live in shelters and use the food bank. This is the legacy of 8 years of this Liberal government. And this bill won't change that. Having a photo op won't change that. Having a re-announcement won't change that. What will change it is real action. And as I mentioned, the Conservative Leader's plan is a real plan, unlike the back-of-a-napkin approach of this government. We've said that we'll withhold transit and infrastructure funding from cities until sufficient high-density housing around transit stations is built and occupied. That's a key. Not planned, not built at some stage, but when they are occupied, that's when they'll get that money. And we're going to actually incentivize cities with a super bonus if they do better. So it's not just a stick, it's also a carrot. And I think that is an important part of the Leader of the Opposition's bill, the Conservative Leader's bill, that is better than the Liberal bill. And did you know, Madam Speaker, that we're paying bonuses to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation? Their executives are getting performance bonuses for this dismal failure of getting Canadians into homes that they can afford. We will cut those performance bonuses unless they can deliver results for Canadians. And speak just briefly, Madam Speaker, to conclude, that this bill it just scratches the surface. If the government was serious about getting more Canadians into homes, they would axe the tax, which would not only help with the price of homes, it would help with the cost of groceries. The fact that they haven't done that shows that they're not yet serious about this very important issue. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions?